Hello. I am jumping on today a little later than usual, so I'm recording this on a Sunday to film the next forecast for the full moon in Pisces. And this is a supermoon. And I do try to get these on a little bit before, so you have a little more time to feel into the energy. I am feeling the energy already quite strongly, I must say. And that's also because Pisces is a very sensitive sign that feels energy more easily than many of the signs. Anybody who's strongly Piscean will know that about themselves. They are probably people who find themselves needing a lot of alone time, a lot of quiet, a lot of peaceful energy. So beautiful frequencies, harmonious music, for example, what calmer, cleaner palette places, sleep. Pisces need a lot of sleep. They're good with water, so it is a water sign. And it is the last sign of the zodiac. It is a sign that is to do with the expansiveness of the entire ocean of emotion. And it is a sign that is about endings. So it has a bit of a something needs to die for something else to be reborn. So if we find ourselves in a full moon in Pisces, we're at the end of a full moon cycle because the following full moon is going to be a new cycle of full moons because it will be a full moon in Aries, the first sign of the zodiac. So every time we get to this crossover between Pisces going into Aries, whether it is on our new moon cycle, whether it is on our sun cycle, where full moon cycle, doesn't matter. There's always this feeling of transition, like a bigger transition in some ways than just your average, sign one to sign two to sign three. They all have their thing, but this one is a completion. And it's a super moon. And that means, and in fact, I think there's 4 or 5 supermoons in a row. I think this is the second to last one, and it's the closest. A supermoon is a moon that is closest to the Earth, and it's substantially closer, so it looks bigger. And also its impact on our waters, our tides, the ocean, which is Pisces's domain, is very strong. And also it is the moon's domain. The moon rules the oceans, and she rules water. Pisces is of the 3 water signs, is the kind of entire ocean. So this is very strong that we have the moon in the sign of Pisces and this closer to the earth, super moon energy, really big, really intense. If you're somebody who's prone to deep feeling, which if you have a lot of water in your chart is certainly you, but that's not the only type of people that will have deep feeling. I'm pretty good at deep feeling myself, and I don't actually have an inordinate amount of water in my chart. I'm more fire and air. So, use the chart. I mean, I have something I have seen in myself, even though I notice I'm a big and I'm a deep feeler, is that because of my fire and air, I can oftentimes get out of that a little bit more easily than what I've seen with clients and friends and family that hold a lot of water. It is a lot harder to come up for air. So if you are a big feeler, if you are very watery, either of those things or both of those things, you're probably feeling it. If you're energy sensitive, if you're a very empathic type of person, you're probably already feeling it, as I certainly am. And you might be feeling that very physically, you might be feeling it mentally, emotionally. This is where you get to play and look at how this impacts you, because it's different for each of us. And the more that you get to know yourself, which has been a really big theme for a long time, but with Venus doing her retrograde in Leo, with us just having finished Leo's season, we're still in the moon's Leo cycle because the last new moon prior to this full moon was the Leo new moon. So we're still in that space of sovereignty and that learning to trust that you need to do the work with self in order to do the work for others. And if you want to do the work with self, you have to uncover a lot of stuff and you have to know yourself. And within the context of astrology, I find that useful because there's so many patterns and there's so many cycles that as you live through some of them, and the moon is the easiest one to live through because she does a whole circuit of the zodiacal wheel in 1 month. So by the end of a year, you've done 12, little more than 12 full cycles with the moon and touched all the planets and gotten to see yourself in reflected through the different signs and different parts and areas of your chart. Some cycles, like a Saturn cycle, is much longer, and many people haven't yet lived through their first Saturn return. Some people are already living past their second Saturn return. But with astrology, you get the lens of being able to uncover different parts of yourself that are activated. So with that said, this moon, let me just blow this up a little. This full moon is at 7 degrees of Pisces, which means it's exactly opposite the sun at 7 degrees of Virgo. And we always know that full moons are always sun and moon opposite each other. And it is that dynamic axis that is really activated most potently, we could say. And in this case, it's the Pisces Virgo axis. So all those things about Pisces being the whole ocean, the wise mystic end of a cycle type of feeling, the opposite sign where the sun is a much more contained energy of Virgo, which is a earth sign. They're both mutable water and mutable earth. And so the earth sign of Virgo is very, let's have everything have its time, its cycle and its rhythm. Let's have good routine. Let's have good daily habits that are healthy. Let's look at what needs to be edited. What are not our healthy habits? So, of course, where Pisces can be just so overwhelmed, can literally be drowning in emotion, in overwhelm, in whatever it is, and oftentimes want to numb that by whatever your addiction of choice is, whether that is workaholism, alcoholism, whatever it is that you lean towards, because we all have our addictive tendencies. And this is another part of know thyself. The more you understand, oh, this is what I do to numb myself. It can be binge watching Netflix. It can be eating too much chocolate. Whatever your thing is, wherever you binge in order, or numb in order to not feel the overwhelm, that is a strong Pisces domain. The other side, and that's not to say that every Pisces will be more addictive and every Virgo won't be, but the other side with Virgo is let's attend. It's Mercury ruled. It wants detail, small, fine, order, one thing leading to the other. Let's make this puzzle fit. But within that, it can be hypercritical, it can be very pedantic and perfectionistic, and it can be prone to a lot of sort of nervous anxiety, particularly in the digestive region for Virgo energy. And we have Mercury over here retrograding in Virgo at the same time. So there is quite a strong weight in the Virgo energy because Mercury's in his own sign, so he's comfortable there, but he's retrograding. So where you might find more anxieties coming up for you to look at and then edit and then check. So as I say, Virgo tends to have a very digestive focus, which means you might start finding certain foods are really showing you that these foods are not working for you anymore, or these substances that you use are not working for you anymore. And it would be a really good opportunity to edit those from your life, to recognize what it's time to cut. And aside from that Virgo focus, we also have Saturn right next to this moon. Well, it's a wide-ish conjunction, but a conjunction nonetheless. So Saturn is with the moon, and Saturn he's not at his strongest in the sign of Pisces, because he's all about containment and structure and order and continual effort, which is not Pisces. Pisces is like tidal and expansive and Jupiter ruled. So I think that's kind of going to help us with the editing of Virgo and containing a little bit that full moon, that full supermoon, no less, in the sign of Pisces. But he's also, Saturn that is, he's also making a rather uncomfortable angle to Mars at 2 degrees of Libra. And this is a 150-degree angle where it's like the planets can't see one another. It's not one I talk about that often because it's not one of the main Ptolemaic aspects, but I feel there's two of these in this chart that I want to talk about. The Saturn-Mars one, which is it's called a quincunx, this angle. But the Saturn-Mars one, for me, these are the two known to be malefic planets. I don't always like that word because but it kind of tells you the truth. Can you tell Mercury's retrograde? I feel like my brain is not making the words come out quite right. Anyway, I'm very mercurial, which I'm sure most of you who've been watching me for a while have figured that out already. But anyway, let's just talk about this quincunx with Saturn up here in Pisces next to the moon and Mars down here in Libra. What a quincunx is a 150-degree angle, and they cannot actually see each other, the planets. So there's certain places where if they're opposite each other, they can see each other clearly. They're standing off. If it's 90 degrees, they can see each other well. They're a little argumentative. 120 degrees, I kind of like you. How can we work together? 60 degrees, oh, you're kind of fun. What, we're shoulder to shoulder. How's this going? But when we have 150-degree quincunx, they can't see each other. So it's kind of like a blind spot. And if you were driving and you have that feeling of that blind spot and you think, oh, it's perfectly fine to pull out into this next lane and overtake, and then suddenly, oh my God, I didn't see that car coming. This is kind of the relationship that a quincunx has. So Saturn and Mars being the two malefic planets, which sort of means that they are the ones, they get a bit of a bad rep for that, but also they bring us some of our juicy lessons. They don't always come in nicely, but they come in, they're necessary. So these two are kind of irritating each other because they can't see each other. They're in a blind spot, but again, with the super intuitive, super Pisces moon, that intuitive knowing that something is coming or something is there, but I can't see it. So maybe I'm wrong, because our sense of being able to see things, our physical sense of sight is the one that is so dominant in us. If I can't see it, I'm not going to believe it. And I think for any of us probably watching this video, we've come to realize that it's not always what you can see that is the only thing that is true. So this is kind of the relationship that these two are having, which is a little bit uncomfortable. And we also have the same very intense, very close, even closer connection in this 150 degrees with the Mercury retrograde in Virgo to the Chiron retrograde in Aries. Chiron being our wound and Mercury being our mind. So we are really getting this deep reflection, but again, we can't quite put words to it. And I mean, Mercury retrograde may well mean you can't put words to something that's going on until Mercury goes direct. And so for me, this is a conversation between Chiron and Mercury that they can't see each other, where we may well start feeling some deep old traumas arising, some PTSD kind of things coming up, but they don't really make sense because nothing obvious should be triggering these kind of icky, sticky feelings, and yet there they are. And our brains can't make sense of them because Mercury is retrograde. So it's like I've got all these big owl feelings and I seem to be reacting to this, but it doesn't make sense. And your head wants to make sense of things, but Mercury is retrograde, so you just can't. And I feel like, especially as they can't see each other, again, this is something that when Mercury goes direct and probably goes back over the same aspect with Chiron, we're going to start to find the words and recognize that the thing that didn't seem overtly to be triggering some of our old traumas, in retrospect, it will make sense and it'll give us the opportunity to edit. Virgo edits. Virgo loves to edit. So to edit those things, to recalibrate those memories, because our nervous systems react from a space of all the things that have ever happened to us in our life and how we have needed to react in order to survive, to be safe. And some of that stuff is outdated, but yet we still have this instinctual reaction to things. So Virgo, because it's really the gut, has a very gut instinctual reaction. That's why it needs constant recalibration. Wait, edit that. That's no longer actually good for me. Yes, when I was a baby, I drank mother's milk, but now I've converted to cow's milk and it's actually not doing me any well. It's not any good. It's not mother's milk and I'm no longer a baby. Therefore, maybe dairy is the problem for me. And the gut makes that connection. Of course, the gut's not just making the connection of things that are physically related. It's also digesting ideas, digesting experiences. And then Pisces, being super intuitive, we have this opportunity to go, well, I can't see why this is true. I don't even understand why this is true. And yet I have some deep visceral inner knowing that this is true. And that's a part of ourselves that we need to learn to trust more, because we are very heady in Western culture and that's been prized, whereas our intuition has been to woo, and it hasn't been something that we've been taught to listen to. In fact, if anything, we've been taught not to listen to it, and that it's leading us astray. So this is a beautiful full moon to give us the opportunity to recognize that there's some building discomforty things, and maybe this isn't. Intuitively, just trust yourself. This isn't the time to fully understand what these are. Just go through the motions. Journaling is so great because then you can look back when things start to make sense. Look back at the feelings that you wrote down. Look back at the colors that were showing up for you, the dreams, your actual dreams, your nighttime dreams, because Pisces is big on dreams, will be for sure showing you something. We do all dream. I know a lot of people say, I never remember my dreams, or I don't dream. We do dream. This is not the time necessarily to have a big conversation about how it is that you can get better access to your dreams, but there are loads of ways to do that. You can Google that, research that, or you can jump on to one of my platforms where I can help you privately through card readings, astrology readings, coaching, healing sessions, and I can help to give you some guidance if that feels important for you. And it is a good portal if that's something you want to do and improve your dreams, or your recollection of dreams, or your ability to work consciously with your dreams. This is a good portal to do it, but I'm not going to discuss that deeply here. The only other thing I really want to throw in here quickly before well, actually two other things. So the one thing is that Uranus is very happily engaging with Neptune and with Pluto. So these three outer planets are currently in quite a nice, I almost feel like they're holding us as we're going through some of these things. They're just holding us. It's like the three of them have come into an agreement, like let's just give them a little bit of support from the outside, because a lot of the stuff that seems to be going on for us now is more personally intertwined. It's time to do a bit more personal focus and then take it back out into the outside world, and then in and then out, like a breath. And the other thing, the last thing, is that Venus is still retrograde in Leo at this point, but she is at the degree point that, no, yes, she turns at 12. Let me just double check that. I'm sorry, I've got this open here. Yes, she's about to station direct. So she's already stationed, almost slowing down to go direct. She goes direct on this is the second full moon of the month. This is on the 31st of August, Pisces full moon. And on the 4th of September, Venus is going to go direct. And then on the, sorry, I'm going back, on the 15th of September at 8 degrees, Mercury will go direct, 8 degrees of Virgo. And for Venus, it's 12 degrees of Leo. So what I would do if I wanted to take this into my own personal chart, for those of you who like to do that, is I was definitely going to look at the mutable signs. So the mutable signs are where the full moon is happening, and the mutable signs are obviously in Virgo and Pisces. And then square to them would be Gemini and Sagittarius. So if you have anything, and I would say because of the connection with Saturn, I would even go maybe from 0 to 10, 12 degrees of the mutable signs. Just see if you have any planets or points there, because then this is going to be like much more personally pressurizing to change, much more personally like ignited, but not in the most comfortable way, shall we say. And then also, I mean, because we did talk about 19 degrees here, you might want to look at that area in your mutable signs as well. Or you might want to also look around the fixed energies where Venus is stationing, because planets stationing are at their strongest. So she's at that degree where she's stationing. So if you have anything from, let's call it 8 or 9 degrees of Leo to 17-ish degrees Leo, or any of the other fixed signs, which would be Taurus, and you can see she's forming a relationship here with another square sign. Another Mercury is definitely retrograde with another fixed sign of Jupiter. And I know I said I was going to say one more thing, but I'll just say it on that, because that's also uncomfortable. That's a square. Venus and Jupiter are in square, and they are the two benefic planets. So where we were talking about how Mars and Saturn, the malefic planets, are having this uncomfortable, I can't see you, but you're obviously trying to bring me something annoying like a rash. Here we have a more visible not agreeing between Venus and Jupiter, and they usually bring good things. So there is something in this where it's like, we're not actually, usually they want to work together. They have more of a flow, joyous, graceful kind of vibe, but there's something again there that's saying, this is too much of a good thing. Sometimes too much of a good thing is not right. Or this old value that seemed so important, it's got to go. It's not good for me anymore. So that's also an interesting dynamic. But basically anything in that sort of mid-range of the fixed signs, which are Taurus, where we see this, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, or Aquarius. So that's kind of where I'd focus my attention. But as you get to know your astrology and your own chart a little bit better, also trust what you feel. This is a really good moon for you to step back sometimes and say, well, she said 0 degrees, but I've got a 29-degree Aquarius sun. It's funny I say that. That's my daughter's degree of her sun. And I'm feeling it. So she must have gotten that wrong. No, just trust it for yourself. I'm feeling it means I'm feeling it. It's not right or wrong. It's sometimes it doesn't make sense. Sometimes I can't see what the connection is, but I can feel it. And I think that's going to be the key for this moon. Feel the stuff that you intuitively know to be true. Feel the stuff that no longer feels like it fits, like shoes that are too small or trying to squeeze into your thin clothes. Feel those things and just witness them. Don't expect all the solutions to materialize right now. I feel like that's coming, but right now it's just feel it. Feel what you don't like. Feel what you do like. Feel it. Feel it all. I hope that's been helpful, and thank you very much for watching. I am sorry that I didn't get this to you a little sooner, as I do like to. Oh my goodness, I can't find the stop record. I'm telling you, Mercury retrograde is really Mercury retrograding me at the moment. Anyway, I'm sending you all lots of love. Remember that my link is below this video, and if you want to look me up for some personal support, I'm there. Otherwise, I really appreciate all the likes, shares, subscribes, follows, comments, etc. on all of my platforms. It really helps me to get these videos out to more people. So thank you very much, and I will be back with you on the next weekly reading or the next astrology forecast.